Hello, my name is Philip Rosenberg, and you are watching The Philip Rosenberg Show. I'm here today with Cassia Patel of the Oceanic Global Foundation, and she is going to tell us about what her organization does, what she does within the context of her organization, and of course, this is about the environment and about how to save and conserve the environment. And not everyone agrees that the environment needs saving and conserving, so we're going to explore from different angles. So first of all, Cassia, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Phil, for having me. Excited to be here.
Totally, the pleasure is utterly and totally mine. So you are, correct me if I'm wrong, the program director, right?
Yep.
For Oceanic Global. And what does that mean? What is your everyday like? What is your job?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the program director for Oceanic Global, overseeing our different programs, as the title implies, and our work really falls in two categories. At the community level,
should we tell our audience what a tautology is? Do we know? Well, should we tell her, because you just did a great tautology.
Oh,
I'm the program director. What's my job? I direct the programs. So anyway, okay, never mind. It's a little bit of like grammar humor. Not everyone, I think, should tell those kinds of jokes, and maybe I should not, perhaps. So go ahead.
No, that's perfect. And just
so your job is program director, and you direct programs, but also,
and just maybe to step back slightly, and to share the broader lens. So at Oceanic Global, our mission is to engage new audiences in ocean conservation. So as
opposed to people that are already on board with like environment. So you're reaching out to people that are like, listen, I really don't have time for this. I need to eat a hot dog, leave me alone, right?
Trying to, exactly. Okay. People of all ages across the planet.
How do you do that? What do you do to get people involved?
So we like tapping into what we call universal passions of music, art, technology, fashion, film, and weaving in environmental messaging into these different lenses, sports as well. So things that people are already excited about and create a culture around, and using those as vectors and opportunities to share messaging and to empower people and being a part of the solution and sharing how everybody can.
So let's give so that our audience understands. That sounds really nice. Let's talk about a specific event with art and music and environmental goodness. What happened and what was it like? And tell me about it.
For sure. So I think actually the organization grew from our inception was from this initial event called Oceanic Ibiza. So hosted in Ibiza in Spain, and artists came and performed for free. So we actually had musicians like Lee Burridge and Bedouin and Solomon performing for free, as well as incredible art installations that had been made from plastic collected around the island throughout the year leading up to the event, working together with community organizations and schools. We also had Parsons School of Design, who created these incredible costumes made out of upcycled materials. We had Cirque du Soleil.
I'm laughing because my cat is just getting right in front of the camera. Sweetheart, go away.
No problem. Cirque du Soleil had these incredible empath pieces and acrobatic performances. But alongside all of that, which drew an enormous crowd of different people who may or may not have been aware of environmental issues, we had an environmental speaker series. And so leading voices in the movement at that time, from Oceana, from the Plastic Bank, from Greenpeace, Sea Shepherds, and beyond, sharing the work that they're doing, alongside an eco marketplace, highlighting solutions and vendors that are actually offering items to facilitate lifestyle changes.
Such as what? What kind of items are we talking about here?
So one example would be Corona actually had this set up targeted for kids.
Corona the beer.
Yes. So you could input.
Not Corona the virus, importantly.
Very important to distinguish. So you could input PET plastic water bottles, and it would print out 3D plastic jewelry for kids, and so they could really see what does it mean to upcycle and to reuse materials. How could that be embodied?
Gotcha. So, but I mean, let's be realistic, right? I mean, it's the ocean. It's a lot of water, but it's salty. We can't drink it. It doesn't taste good. In fact, if we tried to drink it, we would die if we drank enough of it. And if you don't like fish, okay, big deal. Then a lot of people don't like fish, so they don't really care that much what happens to fish. And if you don't live on the beach, then you probably don't care about being able to go to the beach that much, and whatever. So why, given all that, I mean, can we really say that the oceans are important? Really? I mean, okay, they're nice. Everyone likes, they just say, okay, oh, the ocean, let's save the ocean, but it's not really that important, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a good question. So why should we care, and why do we care about our ocean? If you zoom out and looked at our planet, you'd see mostly ocean. So a better name would be ocean rather than Earth. 70% of our planet is ocean, and it produces most of the oxygen that we breathe. So every second breath is coming from the ocean, from these microscopic plants and algae in the ocean that are producing oxygen for us. If you don't like fish, that's totally fair. About half of the world's population, 3 billion people, do rely on the ocean as their primary source of protein.
But they could always eat chickens, right? Or
What's
lettuce.
available? We definitely advocate for plant-based diets, so not disagreeing with you there. But it is true that the ocean provides oxygen and food for many people on this planet, as well as the ocean has been integral to trade and to the way that we are able to work with each other and to share goods and services. And you'll see that most cities are actually positioned on the ocean for that reason. So the population
Or rivers. Oceans are rivers. So on water is, I think, almost all cities. You have to be near, I mean, right? If you're a city without a source of water, you're not going to have many residents, are you?
Exactly. And everything that's dumped into the rivers ends up in the ocean. So
there's something very exciting coming up here. It's a huge event, World Oceans Day. How many World Ocean Days have there been? This is the upcoming, which one is this one, Lee? How many?
So World Oceans Day is on June 8th and was designated by the UN in 2008. So this would be then the 12th. And so traditionally, this is an event hosted at the UN headquarters in New York. But this year, all things considered, we will be hosting a virtual event. So that will be on the UN World Oceans Day website. And every year there's a different theme.
Which is what? So anyone can join this event, by the way?
Free, open to the public. Yep.
So good, awesome. How do I tell, where do they go? What do they do? Guys, if you want to check this event out, it's totally free. You got it from the horse's mouth. No offense, Cassia. You don't look like a horse, and your mouth doesn't look like a horse's mouth. It's just a saying. But where do people tune in if they want to check out your event?
So on unworldoceansday.org, and we'll have all of the registration details and information available by next week. So people can see also the schedule, the program, the speakers, and people can tune in as though it is a live event. So you'll have to register and tune in that way.
Will there be any audience participation?
Not directly. So it will just be viewership based, and then people can share that. It will live on the website following. So we'll have it will be live during the day, and then the recordings will exist on the website beyond. So if there's time difference issues, or if you don't happen to be able to join us on Monday, you can always see that following.
Okay, I have a real question for you about this. Is kind of a dilemma if you live in the city, which I do, and I'm experiencing this. So okay, I'll tell you what my solution was, then I'll ask you for a better one. I have a cat, and so I have cat litter, right? And I live in an apartment building, and so I can't just let my cat out into the wilds of Brooklyn to use the bathroom. So yeah, cat litter. So I scoop it and I put the stuff inside of a bag. I throw the bag out. Single-use bags I think they've just been allowed back in because of the pandemic, but will shortly be unusable once again. Okay, take your bags with you, go to the store, reuse your bags, don't get new bags every time you go shopping. I'm okay with that. Use compost. I'm okay with that. Do all the things that are possible to do. But what do you do with your cat litter?
Yeah, it's a great question, because you cannot compost the cat litter. So I just wanted to emphasize that and to share that, because that does have to be treated differently.
Yeah, what do you do?
It cannot be used in residential compost. So at the moment, there are no ideal solutions for that. When you get your bags for your cat litter, they're green and thinner, and it says compostable on them. Is that right?
Well, I perhaps should not admit this, but what I did was I went after we were like a week away from having no more bags, or like less than that. I went over to the local pharmacy, whose name I shall not mention, I guess, and I offered to buy they had tons of bags because they're not going to be able to use them anymore, and of course they purchased them en masse to begin with. So I bought a bunch, but I will eventually run out. They're perfect for garbage. They're perfect for cat litter. But when I run out, what am I going to do? This is the question. I mean, you're essentially saying this. Somebody did not think this entirely through, because there's not a good solution for cats, really, is there?
Well, there are when people traditionally purchase bags for their pets and to gather for walks and everything in their litter and
Yeah.
beyond, but
Yeah.
they're usually green or something similar, and they say compostable. So I just wanted to share for those that are using that practice that compostable plastics do need to be treated in an industrial composting facility.
Are they more expensive than free ones, though?
Yes, they do have a price.
How much do they cost? Do we know?
For the cat litter bags, I'm not sure. But I did just want to
While you
share.
talk, I'm going to look it up. Is the advantage of doing Zoom interviews is that my computer is right here.
Yeah. I did just want to share though for those that are using those, that they do need to be treated in a special facility depending on the certification that they have, which dictates the time, temperature, and conditions needed to break that material down. There's a lot of development in the material science world. People are creating plastic bags from cassava, from algae. People are using compost, clay, shellfish waste, and beyond to create
I
these.
have something very disturbing to report. I just did a quick Google search. How much do compost bags cost for cat litter? I $42.75 for 40 bags.
Wow, that is
$1 each. So here's the problem. Like that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
For some people, it's a lot. It's really a lot.
Yeah.
And I wish we could have a better solution for cats. I understand that maybe it's just not possible, but wouldn't it be a shame if cats were, if anyone that was really poor couldn't afford to have a cat because of this?
Absolutely. I think we should make that a priority for some of the innovations that are taking place at the moment.
All right, cat litter innovation. I'm on board.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, okay, question for you. Is it possible, do you think, to remove plastic, single use and otherwise, from our societies? I mean, is it possible to really just rid ourselves of it? Is that rational, or is it not really rational?
Yeah, a few answers to this question. So I think to begin with, the mass production of single-use plastic only started 60 years ago. So this is a very recent issue. And in some parts of the world, it's even more recent than that. In India, single-use plastic only became the norm 20 or even 15 years ago.
Right.
So this isn't thinking about, this hasn't been the case for generations and generations. It's
Okay.
much more recent than that. And
So
so
human beings can do it. Human beings can live without plastic bags. We have done so for most of the history of humanity.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would just caveat that though with identifying that that plastic is an incredible material. It's flexible, it's durable, it's long lasting, and there's a reason why it's been celebrated as this miracle material for medical applications, for food storage and beyond, because of all the different properties that it does possess. But there are different classes of items. So there are certainly items that we can eliminate and reduce and replace with reusable options or with materials that are earth digestible. And then there are cases where we do still need single-use plastic. And I think we're seeing that a lot in the medical space right now, certainly. So I would just clarify that plastic activists are focusing on the first category, things like forks, spoons, bags, cups, that we can find alternatives to if we have the priority and the will to do so. And a lot of that support needs to come also from regulation.
The priority and the will. I think you really touched on maybe the most important issue here, the priority and the will. Because I would like to know, like, what do you say to your audience really are these people. What do you say to the people who insist that their own convenience is more important than a dolphin's coming into contact with plastic? For whom, maybe they're poor, maybe they don't have, you can get stuff free that's plastic, free reusable forks and knives even, right? I mean, you go to the store one time, you can reuse a fork and a knife how many times before it's not really usable again? What do you say to those people that say, listen, stop bothering me already with your stuff? I like plastic. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different approaches here. It's certainly incredible to see individual action and people making choices if they have the ability to do so. But I think more broadly, this doesn't need to be always a story of sacrifice. I think we actually do also just need to think about how we can change our system so that it's easy and cost efficient. And you don't have to swim upstream or against the norm to be able to live in a sustainable lifestyle. So that's one thing that we are just thinking about more broadly. And that's actually why we're engaging with industry and with businesses and with policy rather than solely focusing on changing individual action at the community, at the consumer level.
Okay, what are the top 3 things that the local or state, which is I guess local by comparison to federal government, can do to help you and your cause? If you could snap your fingers and say, these are the top 3 things that I wish the government would just do it, what are they?
It's a great opportunity. Well, I do want to call out one piece of legislation that is in the works, the Break Free from Plastic Act, which has been presented by Senator Udall at the federal level. So that has numerous components of this issue represented there, and including the support that's been given to the plastics industry and how that's so deeply tied into the fossil fuel industry as well. So that's a federal piece of legislation that we're advocating for. At the New York City level, for example, so at a city level and more local, we're supporting a bill that would ban single-use plastic items, so calling out specific items. Of course, you might have heard a little bit about the straw bill, but this follow-up piece of legislation would essentially consist of a policy review and then putting forth recommendations to ban single-use plastic items, including utensils, cups.
So my question though is, like, I just want to redirect my question. I'm gonna be the genie in the bottle for you. Rub the bottle inside the where I live, and I will grant you 3 environmental wishes, or 3 wishes. Would you spend them all on the environment? And if so, what would they be? You don't have to deal with the government. You just say, oh, magic genie, fill in the bottle. Give me this, that, and that. What would they be for the environment?
Well, and for plastics specifically more so, I think reducing the amount of subsidies that are offered to the oil and gas industry would also more like accurately reflect the price there.
Number 1, reduce subsidies from the government for plastic. And do you say oil as well?
Well, for oil and gas, because that's 1 out of every 8 gallons of oil is essentially used to create plastics.
Okay, so number 1, stop subsidies to the oil and gas industries. Number 2,
implement a plastic tax, which would be on the producers or on the manufacturers, and also to relate that to the imports and exports as this material is being shipped around the world, so that again you're able to properly reflect what the prices of these end products should be.
So that pricing, of course, gets passed down to the consumer. Even though we're saying we want to tax the producer, at the end of the day, the producer is going to charge whatever tax it is that is placed upon them. So, okay. Wish number 2, though, is to encourage via social engineering and tax policy producers of plastics to look for alternative plastic products that are sustainable and reusable.
Exactly.
Ooh, I feel like I'm starting to pick up the language a little bit. How's my lingo? My jargon is getting better.
Yeah.
Soon I'm going to be able to string together these really long, complicated sentences of things that only make sense to a few people. I'll be on the in crowd at that point. So, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper down into the innovations. I want to talk about them. So you guys are really spending a lot of time finding ways that society can make changes. And some of these are just by changing behaviors, and others are actual innovations, inventions, things like that. So let's talk about the innovations. Go.
Absolutely. So I think some of the most exciting innovations that we've seen, especially towards the beginning of this year that have been rolling out, are around reusable systems. So thinking about how can we have reusable cup systems at festivals and at events and at stadiums even? How can we have a reusable coffee cup system so that you can...
What did you come up with? That's a great idea. What did you come up with?
Well, I can give a few shout outs to some organizations.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, for sure. So on the cup side, our cup, Globlit, Cup Zero are some that are really active in the US, and the UK Cup Club is doing something similar as well, and Stat Cup as well. So offering a reusable cup solution for these live events. I mentioned stadiums as well. So you can put a deposit down for your cup, and throughout the festival, throughout the event, you're enjoying the same cup, getting it refilled. And then when you return the cup at the end, you get your deposit back. So that same
Ah,
deposit system is being applied also to coffee cups. An incredible group called Muse has been rolling out pilots in Singapore and in San Francisco and in Bali, showing how we can really shift more to this reusable system. They're also using RFID chips in their cups so that you can swipe in and out as a consumer when you're renting and then returning these cups at different drop-off locations. And they're working with coffee chains so that it's easy for you to do that. Vessel is another really good example as well on the West Coast. Talking about to-go containers, I would say Deliver Zero and Dispatch Goods are really showing how we can use reusable to-go containers for ordering lunch and for different scenarios. And we're seeing it arise also in reusable catering, so dishware that can be reused and then washed. So in general, moving towards a reusable economy. And I think part of that also is just getting people to do their dishes. So if I had one campaign, it would be the Do Your Dishes campaign. And really just
that
encouraging,
was number three, that just everyone would do their own damn dishes instead of
instead of
buying.
buying a bunch of plastic and styrofoam, even for family events and celebrations, you'll save money if you're not buying more stuff. I mean, that's also, you'll see that payback over short time frames and scales at the individual level or as a business. So
Will
that's
you like me more if I tell you that I never buy paper? Actually, I buy paper towels, but I never buy plastic plates or silverware or plastic cups, any of those things. So we can be buddies now?
yeah, for
All right,
sure.
awesome.
Now we can be friends.
Awesome. So if I had said, nah, you know what, I'm going to keep just getting my delivery, and we would not be able to be friends, would we?
It would be, of course, we could still be friends, but I would
Oh,
just
that's sweet.
have a lot more to share.
You're so understanding. I would not be friends with someone. If I were you, maybe I would not be. I don't know. Maybe I would. You're a nicer person than I am. That's obvious enough. So, okay, last couple of questions. We're getting towards the end of the interview here. I need to. So over the past couple of months, we've seen a lot of changes in the oceans that relate to the pandemic. So, uh, industry has slowed down. So we see, as a result of that, pollution in the skies, right? Just satellite pictures over China, over the United States, formerly smog-filled atmospheres cleared up. So have we seen a bounce like that in the oceans as a result of the pandemic?
It's a great question. I think, and also, and just to share this first, our hearts and minds are certainly with those who are suffering from this current crisis. If you're taking care of family, if you're separated from family, if you yourself are suffering from the disease or other impacts, loss of jobs, etc. But at the same time, I think in this period of quieter behavior, as we are staying still and reducing our travel and reducing our manufacturing and industrial outputs, we're certainly seeing that the earth is getting a chance to breathe. As you mentioned, that smog has been lifted. We're seeing a reduction in illness rates related to respiratory disease from pollution sources, decrease in places like China and India. In terms of the ocean, in certain areas, we're seeing wildlife coming back in different ways, whale sightings, dolphin sightings that hadn't been seen in long times around New York and elsewhere. But I think that's all I can really share and speak to in this moment. I think what we're hoping is that the community and the coalition building that we've seen during this time can then be extended and applied to our environmental movement as we do think about reopening, and hopefully this collective attitude and mindset continues.
Let's hope it does indeed. I personally have really enjoyed being able. So I think you mentioned we had talked for a few minutes before the interview started. Did you say that you were currently in Colorado, although you're based in New York usually? Is that right?
Right, exactly. I've been hiding in Boulder.
So
Mm-hmm.
you know the congestion that New Yorkers feel in an average day, right?
Yeah.
Non-pandemic, just the trains, the cars, all that. It is an amazing thing to see and experience. No kidding. Very few cars. It's a pleasure. Prospect Park. Where are you? Did you say which borough you live in?
Upper West Side.
on the Upper West Side. So in Brooklyn, there's Prospect Park instead of Central Park, and the streets, the big avenues adjacent to the park are closed. Only traffic can only pass by at like 5 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if you knew, there's a huge um, surge of bicycle purchases, huge surge of bicycle
Oh,
purchases. So people are changing their lifestyles to suit what life is like right now. And I wonder if maybe it'll be possible to maintain some of that change moving forward. I don't know. I do know that we have to ask the economic questions. It's not enough. I mean, it's great to live inside of a fairy tale. You say, oh, I wish everything just was clean and perfect and we didn't need industry or money and the heck with capitalism. Let's just all eat chicken. But the reality is, I don't know why chicken would be like the utopian food, but whatever. Chicken and baba ganoush and gulab jamun. That would be my perfect diet. So so we have to have industry, right? Or do we have to have industry? I mean, is it a question that we take it for granted? There's so many things in our lives that require industry to function. Yet we sit here like you and I we seem to be more or less on the same page in terms of what the environment needs from human beings to be able to sustain us. But also, isn't there an amount of realism? I mean, is it okay to be just an idealist and say, let's stop all the bad stuff and have only good stuff, right? But meaning stop all the pollution, stop throwing plastic into the oceans, stop industry from destroying the environment, and end while we're at it. Why don't we put an end to disease, famine, and everyone should get health care? And anyway, why, as long as we're making wishes, maybe people don't even need healthcare anymore. Why can't we just have everyone be perfectly healthy all the time, right? So, I mean, reality is a little different, right? So, sustainable solutions that work and are efficient in our society are what we're looking for. Are you guys really providing that?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, I think that's a really great framing too of how we need to best move forwards. There's a reason why with our work at Oceanic Global, it falls under two pillars, community and industry, but there's a reason why we do engage with industry and helping businesses to shift their practices and working up the supply chain to also just get at the root of these issues and to help adjust some of these design flaws in the way that we have created these systems. Solutions do need to integrate into existing systems, even though we can also envision alternative ones. But I think at its core, what we're seeing is an imbalance in the system. Humans are a part of our planetary system. And what we need to see is a value and a priority for our place harmoniously acting as a part of that system. And if that were the value and the priority, we would see a difference in the way that our systems are designed. We wouldn't have as much of a highway system. We would have more public transportation. There's just a difference in the thinking and the design that we can start to focus on.
So let me ask you the slightly, I'm out of focus. So let me ask you do you have an iPhone?
Sorry?
You have an iPhone?
Yes.
Do you have a Mac computer?
Yes.
And do you drive a car?
Sometimes. I don't own one.
Is your car electric? The ones that you rent or borrow?
Yes, the one that's here actually is.
Oh, it is? Okay, good. So you know where I'm going with this though, right? Have we become so accustomed to the conveniences of life that even those of us who are attempting to be cognizant of the damage we're doing, we're still making contributions to the problem because we're not willing to give up those things that we have decided are necessities, like our iPhones and our computers, right? Yeah. So, it's a question about our commitment to these ideals. So what's your response to that? I mean, as an individual, you make a lot of effort to help the environment, but yet you have an iPhone. Does that seem like a contradiction to you, or no?
Yeah, I I hear you. I think there's a lot that we can do at the individual level that we can feel empowered by. I think it's very easy to feel overwhelmed and helpless by the issues that are facing our planet and our ocean and the systems that are in place that are causing that. But I think there is a lot that we can do. And that's also a reason why we do focus on plastic and waste, because it is something that is so physical and visual, and which there is more political momentum around. So that it's a great way, it's a great gateway. And to then think about our food choices, our dietary preferences, the amount of energy and the water that we're consuming, to start to then introduce some of these other pieces into it. I think in general, what we do recommend is just to buy less stuff, to fix stuff, to reuse it, to mend it. What's interesting, you mentioned Apple. So with Macs and iPhones, etc., they have now created, no company is a perfect company, but they have now created a robot that can actually break down our devices into the 113 different materials and rare earth metals, et cetera, that they're composed of, and to then repurpose those for use in their industrial process. And so I think what we're seeing is a shift in a concept of extended producer responsibility. So encouraging companies to think about the end of life of the products that they're creating and how they can recover those materials and use them again. And actually that also should save them time and money if they're able to then reuse those materials. And so putting more of the onus back onto the design and the manufacturers rather than the consumers, I think
Got
is
it.
also a shift that we need. Because I
Got
think
it. So,
the issue's been framed in such a way that we're blaming consumers and saying consumers are the ones who have to engage in cleanup efforts, and that's really just not true. And in fact, a lot of that was pushed by lobbyists who are trying to frame that messaging. And what we really need to see is industry stepping up and thinking about this intentionally and how they can better use materials and how they can better recover those materials.
all right. So once again, World Ocean Day is, did you say June 8th?
June 8th. The only thing I'll add is the theme this year is innovation for a sustainable ocean. So I think we touched upon that quite a lot today.
Okay.
And you'll see that in a lot of different sectors on the day. And it will be catered towards a general audience. So
And
no
once again, the web address, the URL slowly is.
UN World Oceans Day.
That's slow, silly.
.org.
Try again, a little bit faster. Come on.
UN World Oceans
No,
Day.
wait, hold it. A little slower than that.
Can we type that in the comments? Can that be?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just messing with you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Say it. Yeah.
All right. UN World Oceans Day.org. And you'll see all the information you need to register and tune in.
All right. This is Phil Rosenberg. You have been watching the Phil Rosenberg Show. Join us again in a few days when we interview Gerald Times. He's been a part of the New York City chess scene for the last 40 years. He's going to talk to us about the future of the chess scene in New York City, around the country, and we're going to even leave the United States and talk about what it's going to be like to play chess around the world. Join us. Have a great day, guys.